bank losing majority of its shareholdings. Co-operative Bank, established in 1872, known for their unique ethical policy, have lost 80% of its shareholdings to hedge funds. This was due to three rules, also committable offences, being breached. They were a lack of control and risk management, the bank not dealing with its regulators adequately, and false and misleading claims stating sufficient funds available in 2012 when in fact it had lost £674 million. I shall now pass to our chief correspondent, Carolina.
Co-operative failed to keep up its obligations to both themselves and their shareholders when they breached Principle 3, which came to define as a firm must take reasonable care to organise and control its affairs reasonably and effectively with adequate risk management systems. Although the firm did have such a system in place, which is called a three lines of defence system, they failed to operate the system in a productive and effective way. The system was in place to try and control risk, however, Co-operative failed on every level. The first line of defence is the management oversight of the business. The second line is the risk and compliance function, which ensures ongoing control monitoring. Finally, the third line is the internal audit. For a system to work effectively, all three lines of defence should be independent from each other. Co-operative broke the first line of defence as it did not deliberate risk during operating the business on an everyday basis. They viewed this as second line responsibility. This meant that the second line of defence could have not been independent as it was taking on both the oversight of the risk and its risk management. Co-operative risk appetite was cautious, however they did not follow any strategies in relation to consideration of the risk they were willing to take on. They did not have in place the information management capabilities and the framework which were required in the situation. Following the merger with Britannia, Co-operative did not consider risk related to corporate loan book. The third line of defence did not acknowledge the high-risk areas of the firm. The firm prioritised short-term finance rather than thinking about long-term financial position of the firm and taking action towards this. Co-operative did not work with its regulators in a sufficient manner. By doing this, they broke Principle 11. They did not notify regulators of key events which regulators would expect to know about. For example, from 25th of April 2012 to 9th of May 2013, Co-operative did not notify the regulators about two independent personnel changes in the senior position and their reason for them. Furthermore, Co-operative did not provide sufficient information to the board about the management, and when they did provide them, they were incomplete. This meant that their issues could have not been dealt with in a timely manner. They also failed to provide appropriate and understandable risk reports to the board, and at some points inaccurate and over-optimistic risk information were presented.
As a result, we propose a number of remedies: a better risk control framework with a clear need to establish three lines of defence. The bank attempted to adopt this model in principle and on paper, but there are significant issues in the way the framework was implemented. Due to the limited experience individual board members have, there were difficulties in exercising appropriate management. A more formal approach would have been much more effective. Furthermore, Co-operative should implement and create a culture which includes impartiality, risk awareness for every department, and dealing with regulators in an open manner. This would help identify weaknesses and improve risk assessment to avoid future fines and provide accurate financial information to stakeholders. By introducing a more regulatory framework, it will ensure that corporate governance will be taken more seriously and the message will pass through the company's hierarchy and then become part of the culture. With training, financial transparency can be implemented, ensuring data is accessible and effectively preventing data from being concealed and misused.
Both Carolina and Kieran for their input. Although the bank avoided a £120 million fine, the bad press has led to a detrimental effect on the bank's once-known ethical stance, and as a result it was saved from a near collapse by hedge funds in 2013. On a final note, it has been reported that they will not make any profits until the year 2017 in order to account for their unlawful errors. Thank you for tuning in. This was News at 6 and have a great evening.